from the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg. This is a special edition of Inside Government with Cedric Peterson.
To our audience here at home and around the world, you are now inside government. As you know, we're continuing in our series with the Public Service Center celebrating their 10th anniversary of service to you, the people of St. Martin. So we've been venturing inside government to talk to the various service departments and get an insight of what the services are that you get from the government. So if you realize our journey took us this week into the Ministry of VROMI. We spoke to the Inspections Department. Now we're going to go down the hall and we're going to talk to the representative of the Permits Department. I have with me Acting Head of the Permits Department at the Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Mr. Timothy Bailey. Mr. Bailey, it's great to have you in the program. Thank you for joining me as a first-time guest.
Thank you for having us. We at the Permit Department love to serve the public, and we hope that this information could inform the public to better service the public.
Absolutely. I know we didn't really talk about this particular section, so I'm just going to give you the opportunity to establish how long have you been in service to the people of this country?
Well, I started in 2010, so you could say I have 13 years working for the public of St. Martin.
You are truly the country St. Martin baby then.
Yeah, you could say that. I went to school away, and I said, no, I got to come back to help my country. So here I am.
And we thank you for your service, Timothy, especially since we have become a country. And like I said, it's definitely a milestone that you were here from day one as the country transitioned. So you know best the past 13 years what we've been experiencing. We want to delve into your knowledge base as it relates to the permits that are issued to the people of St. Martin. And let's get right into it. What are the services and responsibilities of the Permits Department?
Well, the Permits Department service to the public, we cater to building permits, hindrance permits, the civil works permits, which can be broken down into infrastructure permit, dredging permit, excavation permit, demolition permits. We also provide addressing for the whole country. We are the official address makers for the government of St. Martin and country.
Okay, so take us through the process of applying for a building permit.
Well, first, the applicant will have to request an appointment via the government website, our public service appointment service that we have on the website. Then when you have that appointment set, you would have to bring all the documents that is required for applying for a building permit, such as the deed for the land, the certificate of a measurement for the land, a copy of your identification, the crib number from the tax office, not to be confused with the front page of the return tax that you fill in every year. No, we don't accept those anymore. We only accept the requiring from the tax office. And with those documents, you will have to bring in the drawings of the plans that you want to vision and construct on your property.
Okay. So explain the processing and building fees that are tied to these various permits.
Okay. Well, the processing fee to apply for a building permit is 200 guilders. It's our flat 200 guilders. The building permit fee, well, that has four different categories. And I'll give an explanation of that. The first category, let's say, starts from 1,000 guilders up to 49,900 guilders, which that has a fixed amount of 200 guilders. So let's say you put the processing fee and the building permit fee, your fee would be about 400 guilders for that permit. However, We have higher amounts from 50,000 guilders to 499,999. Um, that has a fixed amount of 700 guilders plus there's 9 per mil per construction value. So it's not only the fixed amount, but there's an addition of 9 per mil of the construction cost. The next category that we have is the 500,000, which goes to 999,999, which has a fixed amount of 4,750 guilders plus 8 per mil of the construction cost. And the last category has from 1 million above will have a fixed amount of 8,000 guilders, 750 guilders plus 7 per mil of the construction cost. So those categories does not only have a fixed amount, but have additional costs to the cost which deals with the construction value that you present to the department or the department calculates if you don't present it.
Quite a detailed list there on this process and building fees. So if they wanted to get more information on that, that information is posted where?
Well, it's posted on our government website. We also have a pamphlet which we are right now updating for the public. So we're trying to be of service and give knowledge to the public so they know what they're getting into when they're applying for a building permit.
Timothy, I have to put you on the spot here, and I did this with your colleague, Mr. Mario Jones, as well, because it's all about service. And there is a challenge there when it comes to service turnaround time as it
Yes.
relates to the service rendered. So I want to ask you, when can permits be expected when applied for?
Well, people may laugh, but we at the permit department, we try our utmost best to get that out within 3 months. However, due to our disasters as Hurricane Irma, um, being sick, our workforce and our workload, one has decreased and one has increased. So the time has fluctuated greatly.
Really?
And
Really?
we're sorry for the public, but we're asking the public to be patient with us. We are working hard to get these permits out as soon as possible, but we try to get it out within 3 months.
And also, you need the help of the public in order to be able to do that. One of the key things I think we would want to encourage them to do is to make sure that their paperwork and the things that they need to do is properly in place as well to help the process go as smoothly as possible.
Yes, that is key. That is key because if the permit department have to stop and have to write out a correction letter, then your time expands until you
Absolutely.
could get a answer from government because that is not the only permit that we're working on, and we have several permits that come in per day, about 5 to 6 permits coming in a day. So we're not gonna be like, okay, when this person comes, we'll just hop on it. No, we got people waiting just like you. So we're just asking the public for patience and also do their diligence to make sure that when they're submitting according to the laws. Because if you submit according to the laws and policy, the process will go quicker.
Timothy, what does one need to know when it comes to building permits? Can you break that down for us?
Sure. We have some policies that are in effect. Um, like for instance, the beachside policy. If you're living or you have property along the coastal lines, this policy would be affecting what you can do on that parcel, such as the distance that you need to be from the high water line. If you are in if you're a situation that you have sand in front of your property, then you need to be 50 meters away from your property. If you have rocks in front of your property as a coastal, then you need to be 25 meters away from your property. Now, those who are not on the coastal lines, there's another policy that you need to be aware of, which is if you're living on the hills. We are a very hilly territory. Most of the flatlands are all gone. So the hillside policy comes in effect once you reach the 50 meters line above sea level. And that would dictate how many levels you could build, the building density that you're allowed to build on your property, and also um, what how many levels you are allowed.
The
Uh,
the third one was,
one
I believe there was one more there.
there's one more thing
Uh-huh.
that everyone have to be in concern with, and that is the parking standard policy.
Uh-huh.
Now, we at the department take this very serious. We do not want to be a hindrance to the public when you're building that your car is not on your property and you're being parked on the road. So we take this very serious. The parking standards has categories, as in commercial, hotel, residential. I'll give you an example for a residential. If you have a house of a two-bedroom house, that is for the unit is for the house itself, you need one parking, but you also need additional parking for the two bedrooms that you have. So for a two-bedroom house, you will need at least two parking on your property. Remember, on your property. That is key. Can't be outside. If you have an agreement with another um, landowner to have your car parked over there, that landowner needs to know that, hey, if you give permission to park on your property, when you want to develop your property, you have to take care of the person that you're allowing to park on your property, plus your project that needs parking. So they have to be keep in mind you can't just give authority to someone to park on your property and then take it away. Because the building permit was tied to having that parking set on that property.
I'm having a conversation with acting head of the Permits Department at the Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Mr. Timothy Bailey. Stay tuned. My conversation with Timothy continues as we're going to get into one of the other responsibilities that falls under his purview, which is the process of addressing, just to make sure that addresses are accurate when it comes to building on our beautiful island of St. Martin. Stay with us. Our next segment of Inside Government coming up right after the break.
St. Martin, the time to join the fight against heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cancer is now. The Ministry of VSA, in collaboration with SZV and PAHO, are launching a nationwide health survey that's coming to a district near you. During the months of July to October, you may be chosen to participate by our fieldwork interviewers. Get near instant results for your blood pressure, cholesterol, BMI, and glucose. For more information, contact us via stepsurvey@stmartingolf.org.
Do you know there is such a thing as teen dating violence? Seriously, there is. When your boyfriend or girlfriend is controlling your every move, trolling you online, checking your social media page, recording you without your permission, or forcing you to do things you don't want to do, this is abuse. If you find yourself in this situation, please talk to someone you can trust. Your parents, school counselor, or the police.
This message has been brought to you by Women's Desk.
Hi, everyone. If you're just tuning in, you're Inside Government, and I'm having a conversation with Mr. Timothy Bailey. He's the acting head of the Permits Department under the Ministry of VROMI. And we were just left off there talking about what you need to know as it relates to the building permits. The question I have for this segment as we start off, Timothy, is the following: the building ordinance. I've always questioned, how old is it?
Wow. The building ordinance was made since 1935. That's how old our current billing ordinance is right now.
My
The
goodness.
Yeah, it's real old. It's real old.
Wow. Well, it sounds, I'm sure for the younger audience that might be watching this program right now, they're like, okay, so when are you guys going to bring this thing up to the date? So,
Well,
is there going to be an updating of the building ordinance? Because I'm sure technology, building technology has modernized. So, what's happening there?
well, the ministry right now is working on updating the building ordinance and the building codes because from since Hurricane Irma, we have this theme of building back better. So we took the responsibility contacting engineering firms and other constructors and seeing how can we update our building ordinance and our building codes to meet to today's standards and what we're looking for in building back better.
Okay. Explain the procedure for addressing. Now, how does that work? I understand that that's a responsibility under your department.
Yes, that's also a responsible under our department. How address works is that we look at where the road is heading to because we have a lot of roads that goes to a dead end. So the direction of the road gives you where the road starts, where the roads end, and based on the left hand side, that would be the odd numbers. Based on the right hand side, that would be the even numbers. Now we have in development around the island, as you could see. Um, Recently, um, we have the two towers down in Malabe. Um, they have over 100 units of residential within that in those two buildings. So we have to come up with a way of giving numbers to satisfy that amount of numbers in two buildings.
Okay,
But
so
for
it breaks down like, okay, so then you go from the limitation of the alphabet, and
yes,
especially when those units become much more, you then move over to the numbering aspect.
numbering, yes, we go over to the numbering aspect of
Okay.
it. So those who has like, let's say they have a huge property and they have two buildings,
Hmm.
and to make sure that the address is unique to those two buildings, we'll have the building go in alphabet. So you have building A and building B, and within those buildings, you'll have then we'll also use the numbering system. So we have building A has unit 1.1, which is on the ground floor, or if it's that's if it's have more than like the towers have more than the alphabet. Now, if it's the alphabet, it will be building one and unit A. Okay, it could be a little confusing, but we're trying to have this system in a way that we don't have to alternate from one another, but have one stream way of doing addressing. But due to the system that we have now, this is what we are trying to accommodate the public with, and we're even trying to update the system that we can give a better addressing system so we our postal service can better facilitate the public in giving the getting their mails and getting their packages to them.
Absolutely. That's the matter of fact, the next question I was about to ask you because it leads into that. How does the permits department work with a department, for example, like the civil registry, and by extension, you just mentioned the postal services to make sure that the addressing system goes as smoothly as possible? Can you explain?
Yeah. What we do, we are the official address makers. So there's no other entity that can make addresses. We are the official, by government, the official address makers. So once you come to us, you apply for your address, we'll make it up, and you have to take that form that we give you, which is 15 guilders, to obtain that form to civil registry, or you could use it wherever you need to register your address. You could go to GB, you could go to Telem, Um, Wherever you need to go, you could use that address because the permits department at VROMI is the official address makers on St. Martin.
Timothy, I want to break down the permits now. Let's get into that part of our discussion. When it comes to the infrastructure permit, let's get into it. Again, first time builder, because we were talking about, those who might have the experience, they have the experience. So we reach out to you and say, thank you for tuning in. But if this part of the conversation is a little bit, boring for you because you're more professional, that's fine. But what we really want to do is talk to the individuals that young person who just came back from college, they're getting the opportunity to build on land. And this is the first time conversation. Let's get into the permits and break it down for it. What is an infrastructure permit?
Infrastructure permit is the layout of a road, street, the laying of the drainage, the laying of your electrical lines, your cable lines, all of those lines are within that infrastructure permit. So it's the layout of where your road will start and where it will end. That's basically what's an infrastructure permit. It gives you the layout of the road, where your electrical lines will be, especially how we are going, like all electrical lines are underground. There's no more above ground. Everything is laid out within the infrastructure permit.
What is a hindrance permit?
Well, the hindrance permit is more like a environmental um environmental checklist for companies because we have companies that's doing some real hazardous stuff to that can harm the
The
environment, such
environment, yeah.
as like garage that's changing oil, how they're going to store that oil, how are they going to dispose of the oil, um, hotels that have wastewater treatment plants. Um, at the end of the process, the water that's coming from the wastewater treatment, what level of pH that they have, and if they have any kind of bacteria, the level of bacteria that's allowed to be disposed of within our waters. It regulates all of those regulations, what have to deal with the environment, and also for noise, like generators that has a big generators like diesel generators, they have a loud sound. How are they reducing the amount of sound that generator is making outside of the surrounding areas? And also to check with the if you're storing um, gas. We have a lot of companies out there that's selling gas, and that's if something happens, we need to make sure that the surrounding area will not be affected in a large quantity um, explosion. So we take in consideration all of those aspects in a hindrance permit.
What is a dredging permit?
Well, a dredging permit is basically what it says it is. It is to dredge the bottom of the sea so that ships could come into port and being able um, to dock to the harbor, or if you have a marina by your home, or like for instance Snoopy Island, which is basically a marina by itself. They will they would apply for a hindrance permit to make sure that their ships don't touch the bottom of the
The
ocean
seabed,
or
yeah,
seabed.
yeah.
So that's what a hindrance permit entails.
Or
The
the
hindrance
dredging
permit,
permit.
yeah, the dredging permit. The dredging permit also tell us what they're going to do with the silk, which is the sand at the bottom of the seabed. Um, where they're going to deposit it. If we're going to use it to fill a certain area for development, such as the ring road that we have. that is still being settled, or even the Simpson Bay roundabout right there across the um, Crossway Bridge. As you can see, that's full of sand. We didn't import those sand. That sand was from here and dredged from the seabed and put there, so we could develop.
Any working relationship with environmental organizations as it relates to the dredging permit?
Yes, we do ask the Nature Foundation when it comes to where they're going to place. Let's say they're planning to place it somewhere that we're not too familiar with, to make sure that wherever they're placing, they're not damaging our corals, our ocean life in any kind of way. Because that's important. That's part of the Caribbean. People come to snorkel. We can't be damaging what brings us money, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. Timothy, I want to give you the opportunity to, as we're about to wrap up, explain what is a demolition permit. I want to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, a demolition permit is basically when you destroy your building that you no longer want on your property. So if you want to remove any structure that's on your property, you will need a demolition permit. That demolition permit helps with us to tell us if you're going to recycle what you're demolishing, or if you're going to dump it on our dump that we have there on Pond Island. So it's basically what you're going to demolish um, and where you're going to do with the material that was demolished.
Okay. We don't have much time to go into break down the respective fees, but where can one go to get the fees for these respective permits? Where can one get the details?
Well, they could always come to the permits department. We're always open to the public and giving information, because informing the public is beneficial for us. Once they know, our work comes easier.
Absolutely. Timothy, I want to give you the opportunity to provide final words as we're closing out the program.
Well, our final words is be diligent in what you're asking for from the permits department. Make sure your architect is doing his utmost to follow the rules and the regulations of the country. By doing that, makes our works much easier, and we can produce these permits quicker to the public so they could do what they need to do and be able to develop. So read, don't just take somebody's word. Come ask questions, and we will help you with however we can in serving that information to you.
Acting head of the Permits Department at the Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Mr. Timothy Bailey. Timothy, it was a great honor to have you inside government. Thank you very much for talking with me.
No, thank you for having me.
And to our radio listeners, television viewers, and online viewers, thank you for tuning in and being a part of this discussion with Mr. Timothy Bailey. If you've missed it, be sure to catch video on demand at the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin at facebook.com/SXMGOV. And we also invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Government of St. Martin. And for audio playback, be sure to tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM throughout the course of the day. On behalf of my colleagues down at the Ministry of VROMI, and of course all of us here at the Department of Communication, I'm Cedric Peterson. Thanks so much for tuning in.